What's up guys, it's Drac, and today we're going to talk about something kind of interesting, and everything that we need to talk about it is on the wall or on the table. That's right, today we're talking about how unfair it is that different parts of the world get different blasters. So, this video was made possible by my friend Biggs out in New Zealand, who sent over this. This is a Nerf Doomlands holdout. Now, you'll notice that this is also a Nerf Doomlands holdout. This one came to me from Amazon US, and this one came to me from my friend Biggs. What is the difference between the two of them? Well, at first glance, it doesn't seem like a lot, but then you look and you see that the back plate, the plunger, and then most importantly, the part that's clearly visible in most blasters, the Doomlands blasters, of course, have this clear window. The trigger on this one is gray. So this is what we would call a gray trigger model blaster. Let's go ahead and bust it out of its Kiwi packaging and see what we're working with. So, interestingly enough, the packaging, unlike say like a Canadian package where it would have to be French, is just pretty regular. We've got Spanish on the back, and then I think possibly Italian. I don't necessarily understand that, but we're going to go ahead and set that aside and this aside. We're going to pop this back piece off, and we're going to talk about the difference. So different parts of the world, different regions in particular, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, China doesn't get as many Nerf blasters. South America don't get the same blasters that the rest of the world get. Now, most blasters that are manufactured and produced are sent to North America, Canada, Mexico, and the UK/Europe. And those all have orange triggers, or at least most of them have orange triggers. That's because the way that toy regulations work, there's a certain amount of joules that toys are allowed to output. Now, the orange trigger blasters, at least in Springer form, tend to be of a higher performance. They hit a little bit harder. So we're going to fire this one real quick, and then we're going to prime our gray trigger model as well. Now this is just a quick comparison video, and we brought out the chronograph so that we could really dig into it and find out. But I'm just going to fire these in a very unscientific manner down the hall right now and see what the difference is. So level shots. They sounded pretty similar, I guess, in terms of that shot being only 30 feet down the hallway. The biggest difference is that this one is a little bit louder. Maybe you guys will be able to hear it, particularly with the new audio setup. If you dig in the new audio setup and you think that it's cleaner and that my voice sounds better, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up on this video. It really means a lot. But here we go, just real quick for you. That's, and this sounded very similar, actually. So we're going to go ahead and skip right to the chronograph portion of this. Then we're going to throw up an average for gray trigger and an average for orange trigger up in the corners above my head. Let's go. All right, orange model first. Alrighty, so now we're going to do our gray trigger from Biggs. Alright guys, so that kind of confirms those numbers with a spread of over 10 FPS on average. Exactly what we knew to be true, which is these blasters with gray triggers are just an inherently worse product than the blasters with orange triggers. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, obviously they're using the same molds. The biggest difference can only be the springs, which is why this is so much easier to do on the Springer blasters than the flywheel blasters. I assume that on some of these flywheel blasters, they add maybe an extra resistor into the circuit, because all AA's are, in theory, they're not, but in theory, created equal, and you could not rely on that to lower your safety threshold or whatever. This is, again, the same reason that places like Australia never get rival blasters. Places like Singapore only get rival blasters either super late or through these super special Hasbro, actually, like, affiliated run events. I went to a Halloween haunted maze in Singapore 2 years ago, where, like, it was the first time in the country that they had actual rival blasters. And trust me, there's like a whole extra ball of wax that's very interesting and very fascinating about that specific event. Not it specifically, but the event itself, how it was put on and why it was put on. That's very interesting if, like, you want to really deep dive into the business side of blasters. But for this video, I really kind of want to focus on how not only do these blasters perform better than their gray trigger counterparts, but because of like shipping, logistics, even though all blasters are made in China and sent literally across the world to be sold, in our case in North America, why are the orange trigger blasters cheaper than the gray trigger blasters? The gray trigger blasters, even accounting for things like import taxes and currency exchange, tend to be more expensive. Whenever I wanted to buy it was the Big Shock. When I wanted to buy a Big Shock in Singapore, it was worse because it was gray trigger, and it was probably about twice the cost. Part of it is the retailer being Toys R Us, but part of it was just that, like, overseas they don't have the same incentives, they don't have the same competition amongst their retailers, there are far less sales and therefore a higher price threshold that people are willing to pay in the first place. But like, it's just fascinating to me that we're super spoiled in North America. Most Nerfers, the predominant chunk of my audience, and it is reflected by sales figures as well, most Nerfers are in North America. Period. So we're really spoiled with the lowest prices and the best selection of blasters worldwide. We get all the releases, they're all fully powered orange trigger versions, and we get them cheaper than anybody else, despite the fact that they've traveled further to get to us than anyone else. Does that seem right to you guys? Like, I can't think of anything that we can do about it. Unfortunately, this isn't an activist video. It's just kind of an awareness video. I can't make you guys more responsible or better consumers. I can tell you which blasters I think are the best. I can encourage you to purchase blasters that are made by small creators. And there's nothing at all wrong with buying like Nerf blasters. By and large, Nerf makes some of the best blasters, if not the most expensive blasters in our hobby and in our community. But why would you ever settle for less? I guess is my point. With a huge aftermarket available, internationally shipping from, again, these small retailers, but also like you have eBay, you have Taobao, you have all these different places that you can get blasters, I would never settle for the gray trigger version of anything. Perhaps that will encourage Hasbro or other manufacturers to be a little bit more responsible with how they distribute these blasters. And I mean, if they stop selling them, they'll stop making them and you'll get better blasters. Fortunately, the electronic loop is a great way to get around this. Modifying either of these blasters will give you the same end result because, again, any modification would remove the spring, and the spring is the changing factor here. In fact, I'm trying to see if I can see a difference in the spring through the clear blaster. I wish I could count the coils, but the way that the plunger works, I can't. Overall, I guess this is more of just an awareness post. It's a Nerf mystery uncovered. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you like content like this, it is a little rambly, but luckily the audio quality should be pretty good. Let me know, seriously, like, comment down below. Do you think it's fair that the most expensive blasters on average tend to be the worst? Do you think it's fair that half of the world and a serious, if not, it's not a majority, but a very serious chunk of the consumer base for toy blasters gets a worse blaster? Like, it just doesn't seem right to me. If I had as much money as Hasbro, I would lobby to change those safety things as they have done in the past before so that I could give my best product consistent in manufacturing to the entire world. I don't know. That's just what I'd do. Anyway, much love, Nerf on, Drac out, opinions, comment section below. Healthy debate is good for the hobby. Much love, bye!